Hello, my name is Sarah Hayden. I'm here on Zoom with Rich Jones, who is a city clerk in Newburyport, and Rich, or Richard, I will say, is going to answer some questions about voting because we all have many questions about this, and I think we all received the ballot in the mail, although even with that, we might have some questions. So thank you so much for taking the time today to answer some of our questions about early voting. So why don't you start with talking about the three options that we have right now?
I'd be happy to. The first option would be early voting by mail. Um, Sort of the parameters are actually starting with the basics. Most everyone received from the Secretary of State an application postcard, and many people have returned those. They would be three options, whether you would want to vote in the primary only, in the November only, or both elections. And then, of course, if you choose, this is sort of an important point, if you choose to vote in the primary, you have to tell us what ballot you want us to send. In other words, if you're unenrolled, we will not know if you want to vote for a Republican, for a Democrat, Green Rainbow, or Libertarian. If you're,
And
I was going to say,
that's
if
on
you're,
this.
I'm sure that is on that. I'm not sure what you've got. Do you have a sample?
Yes, it says actually no party, choose your primary ballot. Oh,
Yes,
Democrat, Republican, Green Rainbow.
Libertarian.
I didn't know it was called Green Rainbow. I thought you were joking around. And Libertarian. Oh, well, you learn something every minute these days. Yeah, and so, yeah, you were explaining that, so go ahead.
Well, the important point is if you're unenrolled, you have to choose what party you want us to send. And
I
if
see.
you're not, if you're a member of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, we have to send you a Democratic or Republican ballot. It's pretty much as simple
I
as that.
see.
And then in the November election, many people are much more interested in November than they are in the primary. It's just one ballot, so we don't have that issue. So if you send that postcard back, as many people have, and they say all elections, you're all done. We will have mailed you a ballot already, hopefully, and you would have received it, and then you can send it back to us, or if you wish, and many people choose this option, you can walk it right back to City Hall and put it in the mail slot.
Okay, so one question I have right off the bat is, will you get the presidential ballot as well if you mail this in by the 26th? Is that what comes right back?
That's a good point. We don't have the ballot for the presidential, obviously, until sometime in October. They've got to figure
I
out
see.
who's going to win in the primary, and then they'll know
Of course.
per ballot. It's okay. There's no question that's embarrassing.
We actually should do this more often, so there's more understanding, but that's another day.
No, this is often enough. This is often enough.
Rich.
We need to receive that ballot for the primary back to us by 8 p.m. on the 1st. That's the day of the election. In other words, some people think if they put it in the mail and we receive it on the 2nd, we can count it. We can't. That's why if you're getting close, and we're not there yet, but if you're at Wednesday or Thursday of next week, you might want to walk it back just to be sure. Even though I will say, and I mean this sincerely, the post office is doing a wonderful job. I mean, they've had a very challenging month of press, but
Yes.
our local post office will take our ballots that we stuff, stamp, label to mail back to you once you've applied, and we'll bring them over, and they start working on them at 4 a.m. locally, so they don't send it off to some place near Boston. They work on it locally, and that's why the turnaround's been so good.
That's great. That's good to know, because I know mail does go away sometimes and comes back.
It does, but not for this one. They handle it locally.
And at City Hall, that you have a slot. People, if you're not open, there's a place people can just slide it in.
Yeah, well, the front door of City Hall is closed, but the mail slot's always open naturally. So all day long and all night long, people walk up and put their ballots into it.
Okay, so that information that it goes for the the presidential election as well, when there'll be a date that people have to mail in. No, if they're going to do mail in, they have to mail it in for the presidential and for the primary now by the 26th, right? For both.
Yeah, well, they could do one now and they could do one later. Some people don't know whether they want to vote by mail for November, or they want to show up at early voting in person, or
I see.
in the election, which gets us to option number 2. The 3 options are: you're going to vote by mail, early voting by mail. Used to be only absentee voting, but now the vast majority is just called vote by mail, early voting by mail, and it's the same ballot as absentee. My suspicion is that absentee balloting will go away at some point. It's really a duplication of early voting. It's early voting is absentee voting with no excuse. Remember, absentee, you used to say, cross your fingers and say, I'll be out of town that day. Many people were, but we never did a bed check. I suspect some weren't.
I see.
So now that issue's no longer there. So that's early voting by mail. You have to apply for it. We mail it back. Then you mail or drop off in person, ballot back to us. Simple as that. The second is early voting in person, which we've had before a number of elections. We used to have it in the chamber. We're now going to have it in the senior center. It's spread out because of the necessity for protocols. We needed more space. And we're pretty confident that it's going to work pretty well. I'm a little nervous that when we open up on Saturday at 10 o'clock, this Saturday, the 22nd, everyone will show up at once. So my request is that you spread it out. If you can come on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, I would suggest you do so. Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have voting from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then on Monday through Friday, the hours will be longer. They basically mimic our office hours, 8 to 4 Monday through Wednesday, 8 to 6 on Thursday, and 8 to noon on Friday. And again, even though it's obvious, we would ask that you would please wear your mask. We're going to go to great lengths to keep everybody separated, keep everything sanitized, and just work the flow as best we can. So again, senior centers at 331 High Street. Most everyone knows where that is. That will be, as it has been in the chamber. You would come in, you would identify yourself and your address. You would ask for whichever ballot you would like, and you would be checked in. Obviously, as I said before, if you're an unenrolled voter, you can have any ballot you would like. If you come in and you're a Republican member of the Republican Party, you can only get the Republican primary ballot. And that's how it works. And it's pretty straightforward.
And all wards are there. All wards are at the senior center.
Correct. If
Okay, that sounds good.
Nominally vote at the Methodist Church, you can come and vote for those 7 days, all the way from Saturday to the following Friday. And I would say this, there's some people that would like, and they just, and it's their choice, want to vote on election day. But because we have to separate everybody by 6 feet, and because we work with a basic square footage of every polling place. For example, the Methodist Church polling place is small by nature. So we will not be able to have many voters in there. Once you account for 4 or 5 poll workers, tables, the police officer, maybe myself, you're at most probably going to have room for 4 voters. Mm-hmm. It's the smallest space we have. So I expect if any place has a line on September 1st, it will be the Methodist Church. So if I was in Ward 1, I would vote, and I wanted to vote in person as opposed to by mail, I would go to the senior center just to take some pressure off.
Now, before we got started, you gave a little view of how many ballots are already in. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. So I know we tried to do a meeting in there, the school board, because we had some issues with live, and they said, oh no, it's full of ballots.
So in round figures, we have, believe it or not, 15,000 registered voters. So on your average state primary, not many voters vote. 4 years ago, about 12% voted, which is not that impressive, but there really aren't that many things sometimes on a primary that excite the local voter. However, this time already, maybe because we have a state rep race, maybe it's the Markey Kennedy race, I'm not sure, but we have a lot of interest, and we have already more than double the number of ballots out. So in round figures, that's about 3,600, 3,700. Those are applications that have come in. Those are ballots we've mailed out. And we're up to date is the good news. I know there's a lot of people who are worried that we're buried. We would be if I didn't have a lot of wonderful help. Can I do this? Can you see?
That's nice.
So we have a great group of, it's a cross between volunteers and part-time people who have just stepped forward. And we have, in the other room, we have, the clerk's office with people that work there. And we're doing everything from, or I should say they are doing everything from stuffing ballots to stamping what ward it is, to stamping return addresses, to putting labels on, to putting Democratic ballots in the right envelope. We've had a lot of great success. I will say we've had 1 or 2 or 3 people that wanted a libertarian ballot. They got by mistake a Republican ballot, but we have caught, I think, everything. And we don't.
So if there's an error, or if someone, let's say I mail out this application, what's the turnaround? So if I didn't receive a ballot back, when should I be concerned? And what does someone do?
That's a good question. If you filed your application a week ago, your ballot should be in the mail now. If you just dropped it in the mail or the city hall mail slot, you have to give us a week. We have time. We're quicker than that. At the beginning, it was a little slower because we actually had the applications before we had the ballots. And so that delayed us better part of a week. But we threw a lot of hours and bodies at it, and we got back on top. The same happened to almost every clerk's office around the state. So was one other point I had that I can't remember, but
well, if someone gets the wrong ballot, do they have to come back down to the city hall?
Well, you certainly can. The easiest thing to do is email us. You can call, and we answer the phone, but we're getting, many calls. People just curious, hey, did you get my application? And unless you've given us a week or so, I would ask you not to call, because we have to stop production, if you will, and run through everything even before they're collated. The first things we do, we put everything in order by ward, then by street, then by number on the street. And once we have that, we can look things up pretty rapidly. But before we have that, it takes a lot of time. So if someone ends up with something they did not think they wanted, they can write right on it and return it through the mail slot. They can email us. You can email vote@cityofnewburyport.com, or you could email me. My name is Richard Jones. My email is rjones@cityofnewburyport.com. And we look at those right away. Any issues we've had, we've resolved within 12, 24 hours, one way or the other.
I see.
Wonderful if when you fill in your application, you put your phone number there, because we can call you right up. I know what I wanted to mention. Probably the largest issue we've had is that people forget to sign their application. They might type it, but we need a signature, and we can't do anything with it.
This is the application.
Yeah.
You're talking about what we received in the mail, or you can get them online as well.
Do you want to flip that over, Sarah, if you will? Flip it around, because Oh, I'm sorry, if you open it up. Yeah, that bottom part is really what if you can lift it up just a little bit, that's really what I'm talking about. You want to check off 1, 2, or 3
I
of
think
those
it's right there.
suggested, and then
Yeah.
importantly, no party. And then right there where you just had your finger, make sure you sign it. And then we're in good shape. We're in good shape.
Excellent. I know, boy, it seems so simple, but we're all so busy and we just forget to do things.
Well, yeah,
Go ahead. Did you want to go, we went over which options did we do? Oh, of course, there's the election day. Go
yeah,
ahead. Maybe the third option. Did you?
yeah. The third option used to be the only option. Now it's the third one, but that is always from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the polling places are the same they have always been. In other words, it's at Plum Island Point in the Coast Guard Auxiliary Building. It is in the Methodist Church. The Brown School is in the gymnasium at the Brown School this year for reasons of social distancing. At the Hope Church, there's nice room for wards 3 and 4. You come in one door, and then if we get too many people coming in, we'll do a head count. And then once, a person leaves, another person will come in. And they sort of come in on the right, they circle through and leave through another door so that you don't have incoming and outgoing traffic in proximity. And then the senior center is a nice space to work with. Again, we'll have wards 5 and 6 there.
So what happens if you're in line and you can't get in and it's 8 o'clock?
That's a good question. I'm sure, as it's always been, if there, and during some presidentials, even before social distancing, there's a line at 8 p.m. when we're closing. So the police officer would handle that and make sure at 8 p.m. if you're in line, you're going to get in. It's not like, oh,
I see.
Yeah. I'll go over that with the police officers, but that's the way it's always been.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. I had another question. So if someone votes in the primary and then they decide they need to have a mail-in ballot for the presidential, when's the deadline for that?
Okay, so hold on for 1 second. I need to. I'm back, right? Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So importantly, for the primary, there's an application deadline for when you can apply to vote by mail, and that is August 26th, which is next Wednesday, is it not?
Yes.
And so if you give us that application on Thursday, we will not be able to process it. So the same goes for the November election, and that date is October 28th. The election is the 3rd of November. So generally it's 5 or so days before an election, they cut it off. So importantly, even for November, there will be 14 days of early voting right before the November 3rd election.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, 2 weekends. This time for the primary, it's just 1 weekend. They took a little pity on the clerks, maybe. But the next time there'll be 2 weekends, 2 Saturday and Sundays, and 2 weeks. And so that will be at the senior center too. If there's any change, I'll certainly let you know, but that's the plan. And
That's excellent.
yeah, and in terms of volume, if we had 30%, the paper quoted me today is 30 to 40. I don't think we're going to make 40. We'll make 30. For the full election, the fall election, presidential election, November 3rd, we would have 88, 90, 92%. I mean, something tells me because of vote by mail, we'll probably break a record. I think the last presidential was 88%. That's of 15,000 voters. That's a lot of people. So we, and it's a lot of people with social distancing. So
Yes.
it will be a challenge to manage. Again, I expect people will vote by mail. It's convenient. There'll be a pandemic still going on, I'm certain. And, a lot of people are nervous. And so
Yeah.
there's no contact if you vote by mail. There's contact if you vote in person, early voting, and the day of the election. You know, I would recommend in November that people take advantage of those 14 days of early voting rather than wait until the final.
Yes. So what if I have a ballot because I thought I was going to need to mail it, and I have it in my hand and I want to go vote in person, either at the pre-time or on election day. Can I bring that ballot with me?
Well,
Like, do they know I haven't voted or?
yeah, the question that we've received a lot is, what do I do? I'm not sure what I want to do. You just mailed this ballot back to me. Can I hold on to it? And because it's only the primary ballot right now, but still people are trying to decide what to do. You saw with the post office where they had some plans to limit overtime and take some boxes out, et cetera. That has changed course, so maybe a number of people will feel more relaxed. But the answer is, until we receive it, even if you mailed it back and we didn't receive it, but let's assume everything that you mail back, whether you use the post office or you use our mail drop, we receive. You have to assume that. Then it goes in the system, it's scanned in the system as returned. If you then go to early voting or the polling place on the day of the election, and you go to check in, and you're going to say, Sarah Hayden, such and such a street, we're going to say, Sarah, you've already voted. We know you wouldn't do that intentionally.
Okay.
I feel like I should say, so a lot of people are doing this. If they finally make a decision that they do not want to vote by mail, they write on the outside of the envelope, did not vote by mail, returning it, and they give it back to us, which we like because we don't like ballots out there.
Right. Well, and it makes sense too, because it's clear that they have not voted yet.
That's right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if they didn't bring it back, we would know anyways. The system is fairly sophisticated in that regard.
So you can't vote twice.
Not recommended unless you want to be charged with a felony.
No, it's just you can't.
Yes, because there's for the first time, I think, it's not my first rodeo. I've been doing it a few years, and there is more mistrust than there's ever been. And I want to assure anyone that's listening that, to my knowledge, there's no fraud. There just isn't. There are people who have memory lapses, and they will come in on Wednesday after they voted on Saturday. I'm talking 2 or 3 people, unintentionally, and I'll say, don't take this the wrong way. I'll say, Sarah, you forgot you voted on, you know.
I'll go, oh, of course.
That's right. So, yeah, is it possible that some people would try, you know, to vote twice? I suppose, whether they're Republicans or Democrats or Green Rainbow, or yeah, sure, it's possible. We're not naive, but I can tell you, it is minimal. And people, if you listen to people involved in elections, fraud is minimal. We have every safeguard there is, you know, and it's a small town. And, but
I know. Well, once they cross you off, you're crossed off in 2 places, maybe more. You know, that you voted, yes, and that's it. You can't go through the line again.
That's right. That's right. And people, the vast majority of voters, vast majority of Americans want to vote once. They really are interested in voting, but just once. You know?
Right.
So,
so are there,
the system,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say the system works. The system is working.
Yes, you have been doing this for a number of years, and I, on occasion, have been there, you know, when the votes are, you've finished counting all the votes. And that's always fun to hear what the, you know, what the numbers are at the end. Now it's quite a lot of work for you, I would imagine.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying it. When people say me, I get nervous because it's really we.
Well, your crew.
If I didn't show up to work, the election would still happen. That tells you. So, yeah, at 8 o'clock, the polls are closed. The tabulators are ready to go. The buttons are pushed. and then the results are printed. It's exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting in the primary, and it's very, very exciting the night of the November 3rd. Can you
Yes.
And so, as always, you know, this time I don't know what will happen. Whether we'll do a Zoom, I assume we'll do a Zoom. But and if we don't, we'll be walking out to the front door and verbally announcing them. You know.
Yes, like the town crier.
Yes, exactly. You know, God.
With a mask.
I should say, this is what I look like. This is what I will look like the day of the election, right? That's what we all do. Which
It is funny because, you know, the lower half of a person's face really is, you know, when you can't see it, it is hard to tell sometimes who you're talking to. I say hi to people with my mask on and they look at me and I go, it's Sarah. Oh,
no, I know.
you know, it's just, there's a lot, people who look a lot the same with their mask on from here down, you know.
They do. They do. And you add a hat like I might wear. But it's, what do they say? I wear this to keep you safe, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And we appreciate that. So we have just a couple more minutes. Are there any other questions that you think people might have, or things that have come up frequently that we didn't cover?
Well, I hesitate to mention this, but some people want to change their party for whatever reason. And you can do that. For the primary, you can do it up until the 22nd. But the window is narrowing so much. And the way you do that is you can get it offline off our website, which is cityofnewburyport.com. It's election news in the city clerk's section of the website. There's a lot of links there to the Secretary of State's office where you can register. You still can register to vote if you haven't yet. We have a lot of questions, such as, I had one today, we're going sailing, what do I do? I said, when are you getting on your sloop? And they're getting on Saturday, and they hadn't received their ballot, and because we just started to process their postcard. So my answer to that is, if you're back, and they're supposed to be back the day before the election. So my answer to that is, why don't you let us mail the ballot to you? When you come home, you should have it, then walk it back to City Hall. That's probably the most common. It's a timing issue because people take vacation.
Right.
And what else? Do we need poll workers? Right now, we're okay with the number of poll workers. If anyone is interested in working the polls, they can email me at rjones@cityofnewburyport.com. We're running a backup list. I think we're okay for early voting in person, and the September 1st. You know, November is a different election. We actually will probably add one more in polling places that have enough room. So yeah, we're always interested in taking names, but Newburyport residents have really stepped forward. And it's not just to work at the polls. It's, Richard, do you need help? You let me know. What do you need me to do? Stuff, a ballot? Sure. You know, we have everybody from retired pastors to school teachers to everybody, and everyone. It's really heartwarming to know how much everybody is willing to make sure our democratic process works.
Well, thank you. I think we're just out of time now, and we'll put this up on YouTube and we'll be running it. So if someone wants to listen to it again, it'll be on Port Media YouTube. And thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Appreciate getting the word out.
All right, I think I have to wait for it to end. I'm not in control of these things. I think Tyler's behind the curtain somewhere, but I'm not sure if he's ending it either. I can see my face. And
normally, to take up time, I normally say, somewhere over. You better leave before we get in trouble.
I don't know. I guess Tyler, are you there?
If we shut it, it'll end.
Okay. And then I'll just go end the show too. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Bye-bye.
See you later. Yep.